Hello, good evening and welcome to the Christmas edition of In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. And it is I, King Ross Brierley, the host for the show, ready and raring to go as we get excited about, well, to be fair, the real king over the Christmas period is, of course, King George at Kempton on Boxing Day. But oh, what a festive feast we've got for you. We've got 5 Grade 1s. We've got 4 hours of jumps, 3 TV meets, 2 King George winners, and a man named Paul Kealy. There he is. You excited, Keels? Christmas time is here.
I'm excited and delighted that they haven't got a crown big enough for my head as well, because it just looked ridiculous. But
we haven't got a crown big enough for my head either, mate, if I'm honest. So.
Are you going to start me off again?
No, he's off again. We thought we gave you a week to recover. But...
It's taken a week, I tell you. I was rough as hell for the next 4 days. Yeah. Saturday to Tuesday. Awful.
I fully expected first-time wind-up, if I'm honest, after last week.
Well, I still need one of those, no doubt about that.
Of course, we've got Kempton, we've got Aintree, we've got Wetherby, we've got... I mean, to be fair, it's probably easier, Keels, to name the meetings who don't go ahead on Boxing Day, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. There's tons, there always is on Boxing Day, isn't it? I mean, the weather's pretty much set fair everywhere as well, so... You know, we know that everything's going to go ahead for once, and it's always nice to know that, isn't it? So, yeah, all systems go.
What did you make of Ascot and Haydock today? Anything interesting?
Ascot, well, yeah, I mean, Ascot, the horse that I thought was the worst value in the race in the long walk, beat the horse that I thought was the best value in the race.
Yeah.
And, that was very, very painful to me. I sent a message to Chris Giles afterwards around Cranbow, I know him quite well, and I just said, delighted for you, but horrified for me, because it was quite an expensive reverse. But it was a fantastic race, wasn't it? Paisley Park went out on his shield. Dashel Drasher ran his usual incredibly game race, and we've got an up-and-coming stayer who's still improving, haven't we? He's still going to it'd have to need to improve again to beat T-Up, who probably sets the standard at the moment.
Yeah, but it's,
he's on the way up.
Handicap company to that quality today was a big move.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is the Grade 1 of the meeting where handicappers can move up, isn't it? And it happens quite a lot.
It does. Hello to Mike Smith, to Frankie Payne, to Patrick Silk, to Michael Barnett, and surely, given this is the Christmas show, Cheese, you should have come in at the end rather than the start of the show. But a Merry Christmas to you too. So I just caught sight of myself on the monitor there. I look more ludicrous than usual. Paul Kealy then is our in-studio tip. So like I said, it is live and interactive, so make sure you like the stream and get involved on that chat, especially if you're coming in at 6 p.m. and thinking, what the hell? It is Christmas after all, and we've got to get home and wrap those presents. But beaming in live from Huddersfield, absolutely thrilled to say that he's made almost as much an effort as I have. A good evening, a good sort of evening, a good Christmas tea time to you, Keith Melrose.
Good evening, Ross. I absolutely love that crown.
Did
you steal it from a small child?
I think it's like for quite a big child actually. Yeah, looking at it, but yeah, we had a good tussle outside King's Cross Station. And he was cross, and I'm the king now. So there you go. You're looking well. You've really made an effort. Loving that jumper. Is it supposed to be like that, or has it just had a lot of washes over its lifetime?
I would be scared to wash this thing, to be honest. It's probably about as big on me as your crown is small on you. Yeah. But yeah, it's. Go on, you carry on now, because I'm not making any further comments on this jumper.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Are you? What are you like over Christmas, Keith? Are you a bar humbug, or are you full of Christmas cheer?
I think if Christmas didn't exist, it'd be necessary to invent it. It's one of those very sort of pragmatic views on it all. So yes, I'm for it overall.
Okay, lovely stuff. And providing, well, I don't know I don't know what gift he's brought. Our third wise man of the evening is Simon Clare. Are you a gold, frankincense, or myrrh kind of guy, Simon?
Oh, I'm all gold. I've got my Christmas jumper on. I think that was bought for some sort of corporate party last year. But no, I love Christmas. I love this time of year. I've got teenage kids who sort of get up late now, and very hard to buy for. But we still have a good day. And actually, when I first fell in love with racing, the first meeting I ever went to was the King George in 1988, when Desert Orchid won his second King George, and And then it became part of the Christmas tradition to go to Boxing Day well before I ever end up working in the sport. So it's, so I love this time of year. And the nice thing about this show is it will have real longevity because people will not only be watching it right now, well done for you for tuning in, but they'll be able to watch it tomorrow and Christmas Day and Christmas Day morning. So
whatever. They can join all the other repeats on Christmas Day, couldn't it?
Yeah, they can get it. Yeah, they can get all the repeats in there, and also get in the comments as well, Simon. Because feel free to. I mean, I reckon post Christmas meal, couple of beers, maybe a whiskey. I reckon I might be replying to a few of those comments. So get involved in what you think about Boxing Day in the comments. And of course the 27th as well, Simon. It's not just Boxing Day.
Oh yeah, no 27th Chepstow Coral. I mean, it's again we were talking about the weather. And many a year you're sort of going into it, and Phil Bell, the manager at Chepstow, will be calling me with the sort of weather reports and talking about contingencies for the second week in January. But touch wood, I think we're almost certain that the Welsh National will take place on the 27th, and it'll probably be good soft ground, which would be a rarity. But
I don't know.
Have you not seen the forecast?
His Norwegian weatherman in his pocket. What's the forecast, Gills?
It's going to be rain, but I think it's on the day, isn't it? On the day?
Yeah, on the day. Well, from midnight onwards, there's actually, the Norwegians are saying 50 mil.
How much is that?
2 inches.
But it's currently good to soft, isn't it? So that's fine.
That's a lot.
It would need to be a road at the moment for 50 mil not to turn Chepstow heavy at the end of December.
Yeah.
But
it's be very soft. Okay.
Yeah, but we're all expecting. I mean, it was good ground at Ascot apparently today, wasn't it, Keels?
It looked terrible, didn't it? It looked awful. What they were kicking up there.
Yeah. But,
very strange.
Yeah, there we go. Let's have a look at the times on that. Yeah. So. Yeah. Anyway, what have you got? What have you got present-wise? Have you wrapped up any gifts for us, Simon?
We got a couple of in the know gifts. Yeah, we got actually quite good ones actually. Allaho, both for the King George actually, the price boots for the next hour through till 6 o'clock, and the best one is definitely Allaho, who's 9 to 4 for the next hour. Now that's generally I think it's 13 to 8 best price, so we're 13 to 8, but I don't think you can get bigger than 13 to 8 with anyone else. So for £20 max for those who just want to get a bit of value. I think 9 to 4, unless there's a big drift, that's going to be as good as you're going to get. And we're also going 5 to 2 Brave Man's Game. So James and I are train director. Clearly, that's a clue to his view on the race, I would suspect, that he wants to take on the front two. And we're going to go 5 to 2 Brave Man's Game for the next hour, 2 to 1 now. I think there's a bit of 9 to 4 somewhere, but 5 to 2 definitely the best price. You can have that for £20 max as well.
Okay, thank you very much. There you go, a few Christmas gifts for you ahead of the King George over the next hour or so. But get your selections in on the chat. Conor McCaffrey says delighted the show is on today. We're just sitting down to watch some pre-shows ahead of the Christmas period. This is one of my favourites. Best of luck to everyone over Christmas. Best of luck to you too, Conor McCaffrey. And before we get stuck in, let's give you a little bit of a potential gift for Christmas as well, with a chance to win a trip to Cheltenham. Right, let's go then, shall we? Looking at Kempton, a sprinkling of Aintree, a little tiny bit of Wetherby as well, and then a good look at Chepstow and anything else as well. I mean, obviously, we could do with an entire separate show to cover the action over in Ireland, but we start off at Kempton. First race of the day on Boxing Day on the Kempton card is a Novices Handicap chase here, and as you would expect, absolutely wide open. Idalka Behui is 4 to 1, General Medrano 9 to 2, Russian Ruler 5 to 1, Blow Your Wad 11 to 2, Es Perfecto is 6 to 1 with Outlaw Peter, 9 to 1 Cop Mask in the outside of the bunch off to a flyer. Over fences for the first time and into fairly warm company. We've seen some nice winners of this over the years, including Balco Coastal, who went 10 wide around every bend and absolutely dotted up last year. Nicky Henderson obviously pretty much has one for every year in these kind of events. So Russian Ruler is his runner off the second time wind up here at 5 to 1. But the favourite is Adalco Behui for Nigel and Sam Twiston Davies, who's going to be the hair for the rest of the greyhounds in this, Keels. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, it might be a good thing if he jumps as well and runs as well as he did at Cheltenham last time. He looked really good. They seem to think he's quite exciting. He's gone up. Well, you want to go win up £8 for winning a novice race, but I mean, I don't think you can argue with that. I think there might be one in here that's way better than his handicap mark, despite getting soundly thumped on his chase debut, and that's Blow Your Wad. He actually got put up £1 for getting beat by 10 lengths, but he was attempting to give £12 to Le Patron, who was running off 122 and is now rated 150, having won the Henry VIII back at Sandown. And I thought Blow Your Wad, he just jumped really well. I thought he was really sure-footed, and it's as good as you could ask him to do. He beat the others way more comfortably, and yeah, I have a feeling he's going to be a hell of a lot better chaser than he was a hurdler, and he was okay as a hurdler when he didn't run in Grade 1 company. So yeah, I am quite excited by him at around about 6-1.
Yeah, he also won a novice hurdle here as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he's won here. He acts on decent ground. He acts on soft ground. You've got all that going for you as well. So I think he's got a big chance. I do fear Russian Ruler because Henderson just does have such a good record in this race. Yeah. He's only won it twice in the last 10 years, but I bet you he won it 3 times in the previous 10 as well. Because he always used to.
And when he's got beat, I mean, Mr. Coffey finished second in this in 2021. Falco Blitz finished second, and this Son of Camas was also in that race back in 2020. So.
Yeah, it's a race. It's a race targeted, and Russian Ruler is going to be better for 2.5 mile, having started off behind J-Lo at Ascot. It was an encouraging run, but I do think Blow Your Wad is potentially very nicely treated.
Okay, yeah, Russian Ruler, he looked like one of those horses, Keith, over hurdles who, again, the tiny obstacles were sort of in his way. He's got a big frame to grow into, wind up over fences for the second time. Obviously, he's one of those horses, Russian Ruler, that. I'm never going to back him, but if he turns into the home straight on the bridle and wins by 5 lengths, I'm not going to be that surprised either.
Well, that's right. I mean, I'm afraid I am going to back him, Ross, but I can see why you would say that, and I think it reflects how strong this race is. That I didn't disagree with anything Keel said there, but Blow Your Wad wasn't really on my shortlist particularly. It's a very, very competitive race. Russian Ruler's taken exactly the same route here as Balco Coastal, running the same race at Newbury for his chasing debut. And I thought he ran a much more positive race as a chasing debut than Balco Coastal did last year. He jumped terribly on his chasing debut. I thought Russian Ruler made a really good start. James Bowen, he was always ridden patiently over hurdles, this horse, but James Bowen took that to the next level when he ran in that Newbury race. I thought it was a very encouraging debut. His 2 best runs over hurdles, according to RPRs, were both over 2 miles at this track on decent-ish ground. And you just know the way he's bred. He's by Sholakov, he's from the family of Special Tiara and lots of stayers. The Grand Dam stayed 3.5 miles. So he's going to be benefiting from going up to this distance. He clearly gets on very well at the track. He's a horse that Henderson's using a well-worn path to take him here. I just see so much upside to the horse in this race that while you're right, I sometimes worry about backing these Henderson chasers. They can go one way or the other. I think there's so much in this horse's favour that I'm going to be with him.
Yeah, they can go one way or the other, but if they go the right way, they really go the right way, don't they? So it's worth maybe chancing at 5-1 Russian Ruler. Loads of interesting horses in here also. I mean, Espefecto ran well on his chase debut. Outlaw Peter disappointed last time out, but he looked good over hurdles. General Madrano as well. I mean, he travelled really well at Plumpton. Maybe a bit disappointed with him getting beat by Brave Kingdom, but not since that one's come out and won nicely at Newbury. And of course, the outsider of the bunch, Off to a Flyer. No messing around from the Tizzards. Simon, straight over fences into a red-hot handicap for his first run over the bigger obstacles.
Yeah, and I think he's always looked to chase this horse Off to a Flyer. So to run him, they almost want to make the most of that mark. It's handicapped on his hurdles form, and yet they think he's probably £10 better as a chaser. I'm sure he'll have been really well schooled. He's obviously got no weight down the bottom, and I think he's got he's the outside of the field. But I think he's got a good chance. I think he was placed in a novice hurdle at this meeting last year, actually, running on. He'll be a stayer in time, but I think, this trip off no weight, I think he's got a live chance. Quite interesting. The last 9 winners have all been 6-year-olds. And I imagine you'll probably say it's a coincidence because 41 of the 85 runners in the last 9 years weren't 6-year-olds. So it's an incredible stat. You really need to be 6 years old. And General Madrano, Russian Ruler, and Off to a Flyer are all 6-year-olds. I fancy Off to a Flyer's value, but on the form, I agree with Keith. Russian Ruler, form over hurdles with the likes of Stairway Fay and Ork and Risk, running on really on the last 100 yards at Newbury's eye-catching, worth watching again, stepping up in trip, following that path of Balco Coast. I think he's got a great chance. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts favourite, to be honest, once people latch onto that. But so Russian Ruler and off to a fly for me.
Okay, fair enough. Wide open start to Kempton then. Blow you on for Jake Galloway. And Merry Christmas from Tony Ray. James Taylor said, let's hope Ross is replaced in 2024, lol. Well, James Taylor, I don't like your music and I don't like your attitude. Okay, that's the opener at Kempton then. You watch it, James. Just you watch it.
They normally moderate those ones, don't they? Mind you, there probably weren't any swear words in it, were there? So you were.
No, I mean, he laughed out loud at the end, so it's all right. You can get away with anything if you put lol at the end, isn't it?
Oh, right, yeah.
Lol.
Probably more than the other James Taylor's ever laughed in his life, to be fair.
Yeah, he's not the laughing type, is he? To be fair to him. Okay, the 120 at Kempton then. We have our first Grade 1 preview of the show, and it is the Kauto Start Novices Chase here, over 3 miles. And one of the most interesting horses of the entire Christmas period here, in the shape of Il Est Français at 6-4, up against Hermes Allen at 7-4, Giovinco 5-2, Marble Sands 33s, Tighten Our Belts is 40s, and Kilbeg King 50-1 on the outsider of the bunch here. Just the 6 of them, but we were talking about the Henderson runner in the first, Keith, could go either way. I mean, you could say the same about Il Est Français here. I mean, I watched back his replays the last 2 runs, and I mean, he's in a different race. I mean, we say it's like an Irish novice hurdle almost, except it was it was listed.
Exactly so. I've already written this about today. I mean, everybody else is saying Il Est Français, oh, he's a big new name with us. I'm bloody sick of him, to be honest, because I've been handicapping a toy this autumn. I've spent there's no rating I've spent more time on than Il Est Français, because we knew he was going to come over for this race and been watching a lot of it. And you're right, he is suffering from the Constitution Hills over fences as far as I'm concerned, and that nothing wants to race him. He's so far ahead of these horses he's racing against. They're muck, to be fair, they're no good at all. But none of them want to race him, and he just gets left to do his own thing. So it's really, really hard to rate him, actually. And it also makes him very hard to pin down coming into this race. Literally every horse in this race would be more of a test for him than the horses he's been beating in a toy.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to pin him down. I think he's been priced very defensively now. He could be very, very good. He could be top class. I just think that's a very defensive price, 2-1, considering the lack of solidity in that form. Because not only is he beating trees, the trees don't want to race.
Okay, and I mean, it's a good job he is in here in a way. It makes it a bit more interesting, but obviously this would have been, I'm not going to say a penalty kick for Hermes Allen, but this is the obvious next step for him, and he would have been a very, very short price.
Well, he's not that far ahead of Giovinco on the market as I can see it now, and I can sort of see that. Giovinco, he travels like thunder, doesn't he? And you imagine if this race against Stay Away Fay had been under these conditions, 3 miles sharper track, better ground, he might even beat Stay Away Fay. So I can sort of see that angle. But yeah, Hermes Allen, I think, the way I'm looking at this race, Il Est Français and the defensiveness about his price is making the market for Hermes Allen.
Yeah, he's 7-4 shot Hermes Allen. I mean, again, he's a bit like, you talk about Russian Ruler in the first. Again, there's some horses you can see where they're going to end up a mile off, and this is Hermes Allen's. This was his destiny.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was lame in October as well, so he was supposed to be badly unfit for his first run, and he's absolutely destroyed him. He looked really good. I mean, he's looked really good every time he's won, hasn't he? Things didn't go right for him in the spring, but that was the case with Stage Star, with Brave Man's Game over hurdles, and look what they've turned into over fences, and this is just going to be another one, isn't it? I mean, and the question is, of course, as Keith has alluded, is how good is Il Est Français? You don't really get any help from the French handicapper either, because and they just put fantasy figures on them, basically. I mean, it's only a few years ago when we had, where the British handicapper would literally, they rate them in kilos, he would literally multiply by 2.2, that's your rating. If you did that with Il Est Français, it'd be 167.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't envy them, because you do watch some of the French jumps races and you think,
yeah, absolutely. But there's a 4-year-old hurdler running at Aintree as well who'd be 162, and she's a filly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, they no idea what their numbers mean. They obviously don't. They make no sense to.
We've had knocked 140s in a toy won by horses running to 115 on the RPR scale.
Exactly.
So it's really not. It's a different language.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very hard to work out. It stops me from being really confident about Hermes Allen. I think he'd be the best of the British, and I certainly don't think Giovinco's any mug. And I think Kempton, like you said, might suit him. But I mean, Hermes Allen blew me away. I was a real fan of him after Newbury, and I opposed him at Newbury.
Well, the thing is that he had this insane pace to aim at, and he jumped stickily at times.
Yeah, early on, yeah, but he warmed to it, didn't he, as well,
did.
which is always a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, down the home straight, I've never particularly I've not warmed to him yet until that Newbury run. But I mean, I kind of hope that rating is correct for Le Francais, Simon, because if it is, not that it is necessarily a 2-horse race, because of course Giovinco is in here as well, and he's looked special when when things have gone to plan for him. So even though we only got 6 runners and 3 of them are 33-1 plus, I hope Le Francais does run roughly to what Keith's been handicapping him to run to, because we're in for a fascinating race.
Yeah, we are. I mean, these Grade 1 novice chasers, they can be sort of small fields with an odds-on favourite, and the fact we've got a top-class, fascinating horse coming over from France. We've got the leading English challenger in Hermes Allen, and we've got Giovinco come down from Scotland, and it's coming from all angles. I mean, Giovinco's representing that stay away Fay form, which is linked in with Grey Dawning and obviously Ginny's Destiny. And I think we've got a pretty decent crop of staying novice chasers, or they're either all good or maybe they're all much of matches. But I think they're all good, so I'm hoping that'll play through when you come into the sort of big race in the spring. We'll have a challenging team for the Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott entourage. But I think the thing I'd say, Kempton, way back when I sort of first fell in love racing, the French used to come over, and largely thanks to Francois Dumain, the likes of the Fellow and Algan and Nutsala and First Gold. And then more recently, Gérard de Cochet, Guillaume Macaire came over. That won the Feltons, it was then. And so it's a meeting which used to attract lots of French runners, less so in recent years. So the fact that obviously the Tom George, Noel George connection and the Kelvin Hughes own Le Francais meant they've decided to come over. It's fantastic. And it's always dangerous to look at the form and think, oh, all it's ever done is won on very soft and heavy ground, because that is always the case with French jump racing. And yet all those French horses I've named came over and had no problem handling the good ground at Kempton and the sharp track. So I think he must just be a very good horse. It's fascinating hearing what Paul and Keith are saying. I don't know what it is about Hermes Allen. I don't know if he's a brave man's game. Do you know what I mean? I think he might be a horse who's going to be more of a staying chaser sooner than maybe, brave man's game always had that kind of speed. He's obviously won a King George. I'm not sure Hermes Allen is him. And I think Le Francais just might be really good. When they do tend to come, they do tend to win. So I'd be very firmly in his camp. Our special, having talked him up, not deliberately, is Le Francais to win by over 5 lengths at 5-1. If you fancy not just backing him to win, but him slooshing up, that's the special.
Okay, 5-1 out from 4-1 then for Le Francais to win by over 5 lengths. Hermes Allen, though, 7-4. I do feel like Hermes Allen's going to go the way of your Clanders Obos, your What a Friends, your Sylvian Arco Contis, and just sort of win this and then go on into those 3-mile Grade 1s over the next few seasons. And I quite like him in a way, but there's Giovinco in there as well. It would be frustrating, Keels, if after getting battered by the Irish, if Paul Nicholls turned up and got beaten by the French and the Scottish as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure it's going to happen though.
No, fair enough.
I would say I don't think Marble Sands is out of place in the field.
Yeah.
I just have had it a bit too quick for him at Newbury last time. He's going to stay well.
In the back of my mind, I think they're getting some nice experience. There'll be a nice, valuable handicap.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. But I don't think he'll be totally disgraced. But.
Yeah. Or the 2.5 mile at Ayr perhaps as well, Simon. Actually, could be a nice option. Okay, Grade 1 action then at Kempton for that 120. What else have we got here? Martin Lewis, not a fan of Giovinco, and that's it. Okay. Kempton then 155 is the Christmas hurdle, where Constitution Hill is in theory running, but of course Constitution Hill and Shishkin, you remember them? They might turn up on Boxing Day. 1-8 Constitution Hill, 5-1 Blue Board. First Street is 20s, and Nemean Lion is 40-1. Black Poppy 66s. So Royal is 100-1, and quite nicely, given it's the Christmas hurdle, the price is almost spaced out. In a Christmas tree.
Yeah, well, this is it. Constitution was 8 on to win. Rubo's about 3 on to finish second. Next.
Yeah. Will Rubo finish second?
Yeah, I can't see any reason why he won't. Yeah, he's got way too much speed for First Street. Nemean Lion wants soft ground. Black Poppy's nowhere near good enough. So yeah, just will be first and second. And
the only thing is So Royal gone?
I think so.
Yeah, that's the because if he's
now,
not, because it's not that old. The form on which would be second by right in this race. He's 100-1.
Yeah, but it's 2 runs this year. He's doing well to finish third.
Yeah, I think he's.
Yeah,
I think he's gone, but you know, fair play to him because my God,
I love him. Yeah,
he's been up there for a long
Fantastic
time.
horse. Yeah,
he really has been up there for a long time. Yeah, and Namian Line, who they skipped that handicap hurdle at Ascot today, which was won by Lucia, to go for this. They thought, you know what, we've got more chance of beating Constitution Hill than Lucia.
It's 13 grand for third, isn't it?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but I think he's a soft ground horse, isn't he?
Possibly, but yeah, £7 grand for coming home in fourth, which is the market's prediction for him. Constitution Hill. What's the? I mean. What are we expecting, Keith? Just a demolition job? What is it? Is it just going to be the
I'm reminded of how we used to be sort of at 2011, 2012 time when I was working in Halifax, and every time Franco ran, we weren't interested in whether he win or lose because he was going to win. All we were interested in is what day was he going to post the 146, 147 performance that he eventually delivered in the Queen Anne, and I'm feeling like that with Constitution Hill now. It's got. We know how good he is now. We need him to actually show it. We need him to put like 40 lengths in these one day, and then we can give him a pound more than Estebrack and move on and say he's the best he's ever been.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the champion hurdle was too easy, wasn't it? Aintree wasn't a challenge at all. This won't be either. It's.
Well, yeah, they're not even bothering to take him on now, are they? That's the thing. You know, you'd like that the state mans were turning up every time, and then you maybe get it. You know, there's no celebration in these races.
Yeah. What we want, we want what France did to Gibraltar the other day, where they're just like, you know what, we're 6-0 up at half time. We're going to keep going and try and get the biggest possible score because it is all a bit too easy for Constitution Hill. I mean, fair play for anyone for turning up, Simon. I guess there's cash on the table for second and third, and I mean, just a quick word on Rubo, Keith, though, because Simon, whoever's got an opinion here, because you know this horse, if it wasn't for Constitution Hill, again. You'd be saying, it could be a fantastic day for Paul Nicholls and we could have a genuine champion hurdle contender. He'll be 6 years old in the spring and so on and so forth. But he could run his face off, Simon, and still get beaten 6 lengths, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, Paul Nicholls isn't really associated much with sort of 2-mile hurdlers. I know years ago he had Rigmarole, I think, which sort of was, went to the champion hurdle with a reasonable price and then bombed out. I mean, he's associated with sort of staying hurdlers and chasers really, but Rubos he loves Kempton, 5-1. It's funny. It's like quite a complimentary price to him, given he's running against a superstar. But I think it reflects the lack of depth in the rest of the field. But it's hard to see him beating Constitution Hill. I just wonder whether he's that good. He's £9 clear of Namian Lion. Namian Lion's running the Greatwood. The form of that looks really strong. Lucia came out and won. They have decided to skip it. I take Paul's point about the soft ground maybe being in his favour. But I just wonder whether he's a good. Having running that decent handicap, is he? It's not inconceivable he could run pretty well, but I don't even think of the way the forecasts work. It's funny, you probably don't get that bigger return getting a 41 second than a 5s in a way because they'll be fairly paltry. The one thing I'd say about Constitution Hill, it's weird how we're almost getting that feeling of, oh God, it's the same old. Yet he's only run 7 times. Isn't that mental? And it kind of shows the real problem is we don't even have a normal crop of decent 2-mile hurdlers for him to beat. He's the best, and then there's nothing. And the best of the rest are over in Ireland, and they're not going to run till Cheltenham. And it's kind of, it's a bit unfortunate, really. My frustration is he's only 6.
I think you've been. I mean, so I did think that, and then I went and the figures that I use for the jumps. Rubo's done 3, absolutely rock solid numbers the last 3 starts where you would be saying, okay, placed in the champion hurdle. So it's. I think it's hard to judge, isn't it? It's hard to judge. When Usain Bolt makes it look so easy, how good the rest of the sprinters in behind.
That's true.
It is hard to judge. Yeah. I know obviously the job of a handicapper is to judge that, but when you still don't quite know how much is under the lock of a constitutional every time he runs, you can end up being a bit dismissive of him and those in behind.
I suppose what I'd like, it's very difficult with a horse like that to, even look, without jumping ahead, like, where will he run next? I would love a horse like that who is the best around to go to Ireland for the Dublin Racing Festival and run in the Irish Champion Hurdle. But I suspect he won't, so you'll probably just see him at Cheltenham again in March, and then what will be the same old season next year. And I'm not, they decided to not go chasing, which would have been so exciting. But and I understand that, but it just means that you are, you always want to see these horses, a bit like when Frankel never travelled. You always sort of wonder, what if a little bit, or didn't take it a month and a half. But anyway, look, the good news is what we do hope is that actually Nico de Boinville shows us what's under the bonnet, and he goes and wins by miles, does the France v Gibraltar thing, and we're betting 11-8 for Constitution Hill to win by over 7 lengths from evens. And if you think that in the 7 races he's had to date, only once has he actually won by less than 12 lengths, which is at Aintree when he won by 3 but could have won by loads. So I think that's probably not a bad little bet, to be honest. I'll probably take that.
That is a good bet.
That is a good bet. Yeah, I was going to say. I mean,
when you said the price to me 11-8, and I thought this is 20 lengths. This, and you said 7.
Yeah, if the handicapper was to rate literally a 7-length defeat, then any one of the horses that finishes second is going to go up the best part of a stone.
Yeah, they'll have run the best race of their entire career by a comfortable margin.
So yeah, unless the handbrake is put on all the way up the straight, I'd say that was actually well worth taking.
Do we have a price on an Eddie Ahern style ride on Constitution Hill to win by a nose? just cantering next to Rubor, going, oh yeah, okay, all right, okay, on the line. I don't know. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that from Constitution Hill. We haven't seen that side of him taking the mickey out of his rivals, have we? So who knows?
But he was only just taken up last year, going to the second last one, and he won it by how much?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just amazing the way he picks up. So
just give him a. We want a greyhound style handicap, I think, for Constitution Hill. Give him a 10-length head start.
A hurdle.
That'd be brilliant.
That'd be fascinating. Anyway, we found new ways to talk about Constitution Hill, so I didn't expect that as we move on to the feature of Kempton's card. Of course, the 2023 King George here, and there's been whisperings and then shoutings and then an avalanche of money for Allaho over the past few days, and he has been confirmed for the big one at 13-8 to take on Brave Man's Game to try and defend his crown at 2-1. Shishkin will be doing something. He might be there. He might run. He might win. But he's 4-1 at the moment. The Real Whacker is 8-1. Hewick is 16-1. And producer Sam Hart has backed Frodo on anti-post each way with 3 places. And is absolutely... It's just filthy anti-post each way on that one. But the anti-post market was fairly fascinating. I guess with the way the anti-post market was a couple of weeks ago, you've got to be slightly disappointed with the lineup. But we do have some absolutely top quality horses, of course. We haven't seen much of Allaho recently, but he was a monster about 18 months ago. Brave Man's Game has had a bit of a funny season. He thought he had a penalty kick first time out. They thought we'll go to Haydock and try and nick that as well, and it's not worked out. Shishkin has... is shishkinned, hasn't he? The Real Whacker didn't even complete the course last time out. Hewitt gets plenty of headlines, but I'm still waiting to see how good he is. And then, like I said, Frodon, who knows his way around here with his eyes closed, is a 40-1 outsider of the bunch. So, yeah, 6 runners. Strange little lineup here, Keels, but fascinating again for many reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what you take your chance on, doesn't it? I mean, lots of people seem to think the Brave Man's Game has now gone because he hasn't won since the King George and he got beat up in the Gold Cup and he's not the same horse since. I'm not necessarily buying that. And I reckon Allaho's got more questions to answer myself. I mean, he's had one run in 18 months. We don't know how good that makes him because it was in a 3-runner race. He only had one serious rival. It was a stablemate who was never asked to go anywhere near him. And he still looked tired after the last to me. Interesting to see what happens with him, but one run in 18 months. And the other thing about it is, throughout his entire career, he's been a way better horse in the spring than he has been before Christmas. I think his peak form would be £10 better. So,
well, I mean, you look at last time Allaho won over 3 miles. Clanders Obo never ran again. Fakir Dodori was beaten in a handicap the other day. Manila Indo and Galvin are running in cross-country races. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't knock him too much. I mean, he was a very, very good horse. The question is how much is left.
Oh, I'm just saying that it was a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and he was a doubtful stayer for much of his early career over 3 miles, wasn't he? He wouldn't quite see it out. And but what's going to happen here is he's not going to get the rope that he got from Janadil in the Clonmel Oil Chase, is he? Because we've got the Real Whacker in here, we've got Frodon in here, and surely it sets itself up for something that's going to come behind. And when I mean, Shishkin hasn't run this season. He may or may not want to change that. If he does, he's still going to belt 4 or 5 on the way round, isn't he? I mean, that is Shishkin, isn't it? So I just think it's just a standout for Brave Man's Game to win it again. He's come to Kempton over Christmas for the last 2 years. He won the Kauto Star by 7.5 lengths. He won last year's King George by 14. Okay, it probably would have been just under half that if Long Press hadn't unseated at the last. But I mean, he was going away from him then. It's his track. It's going to be run to suit. In fact, he was given quite an aggressive ride on the outside of Long Press last year as well, wasn't he? And getting pushed out sideways, very confident. I'm not going to knock him for making an unusual mistake at Wetherby or for getting beat on soft ground by Royal Pagoda at Haydock, because he loves it round there. So, yeah, I think he's the one to beat. I think he should be favourite, and I think he'll win.
Okay, there you go. Brave Man's Game 2-1 then here, and of course, much was made about Daryl Jacob riding him last time out, and then Cobden went to Ascot and won in every single ride, Keith. So I think almost maybe even Connections thought, you know what, we'll go to Haydock, but we're not overly confident, and we won't be too hard on him, regardless of that. What do you make of Allaho? I mean, you spend a lot of time handicapping these type of horses. What is your average kind of drop off for a horse who is at the peak, is 9 years old and has barely run in 18 months? What are we expecting? A stone? A half a stone?
It's so hard to weigh that up, and it depends. I think it depends on yard a lot of the time. And it used to be the case that when these Mullen horses went, they went, but like Henderson. It's not so much like that anymore. He has got a few back a bit more in recent years. I basically agreed with Keels on this race, and maybe wasn't quite as strong in my views. I did think the Haydock was pretty tame from Brave Man's Game, but of the three, they've all got big doubts. You know, that's the thing. These are still Brave Man's Game and Shishkin. I checked the BHA ratings this week, or this morning actually. They're still the two highest rated chasers in Britain, and Allaho is the second highest rated chaser in Ireland according to HRI. So this is
it's a really good lineup. It's just that.
But these horses are now 9, 9, and 8,
yeah.
And those horses that age to have baggage. And it's actually, I've said in the piece that I've written today, it's Tim Strodon's massive credit. He's got less baggage after 43 chase starts than these three have managed managed each. You know, they wouldn't have run 43 times between themselves over fences. Yeah. So
Frodon is the greatest margarita pizza ever, isn't he, Frodon? Because he's you know what you're gonna get. He never disappoints. He's always absolutely, you know, and every time you see Frodon run, you're like, yeah, absolutely. The others
might be the most likable horse that I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, he's definitely up there.
He's such a likeable horse. I mean, I think he's getting on a bit now. He barely even gets past the 160s now in his going days. I think Sam Stephen Bett's a good one. I'd like to have it, but he's getting no better than third, is he? But yeah, he's such a likeable horse. I'll be sad when he retires, and I don't tend to get attached to horses very much. But yeah, I agree. Brave Man's, of all the three, they've all got big doubts over them. And Brave Man's Game is the one you'd feel most readily be charitable towards, I think. And I think Keel's is right, and he should be favourite. I don't think I'll ever back Shishkin with a bookie again. I may back him on Betfair if he jumps the first 4 fences. Well, you know, because in the Ascot chase, you could tell after 3 fences he fancied it, and he went and beat Pick Doherty as he liked and showed exactly what he is. But then he showed also what he is at Ascot last time. As I say, I don't think I'll ever back him again before he's jumped 3 or 4 fences. It looks like he fancies it. But yeah, I just think Brave Man's Game is. I wouldn't be amazed if Hewitt ran quite well. He's going to have his conditions. He's been safe for a race like this, but he would need all 3 of those big guns to all flop. Yeah,
I mean, you say like 8, 9, and 8, but Brave Man's Games again. You were saying that the numbers on his clock are significantly lower than Allaho and Shishkin, and he.
They would be, yeah.
You know,
but by March, what I tries to note though is by March he'll be older than 10 of the last 11 Gold Cup winners.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so okay. Well, who was it on our chat? Where are we? Frankie Payne says, "Please, can I hear a kind word about the mighty, the real Wacker?" Keels, do you have a kind word to say?
Yeah, he was a very good horse last season, but I mean, he's got a big question mark about him now, hasn't he? Because he just ran no sort of race at Cheltenham. What do we expect from him?
Yeah, I don't know.
And he's going right-handed for the first time.
I didn't know what to expect from him all season last season, and he.
Yeah. No. I think he has been right-handed over hurdles, is he not? But yeah, it's just a worry, isn't it? I mean, you're coming. You know, first of all, how good was the Brown Advisory Form in the first place? I know everyone keeps going on about Jerry Colombo. I'm not convinced. And he's got a big chunk to find, even if he hadn't run such a stinker first time out. So, you know, I can't say I'm getting excited by him. What is he, 8-1?
Yeah. We all sat here before, or I certainly sat here before the Paddy Power and said this horse isn't good enough to win a race like this off 162. You'd have backed the other 3 and hit him in the market every day of 162 in that race. You know, that's so he's already, before that run, he had lots to prove coming up against these big boys. And I don't think he's given the field the slip. You know, Frodon wouldn't let him do that. Allaho wouldn't let him do that. Hewitt wouldn't let him do that. Brave Man's Game. So I just think he's got an awful lot of likeable horse though he is. It's going to have. They always talk him up the yard because he's their big hope, but I think he'd be better off adjusting his sights down very slightly, and he could be a really likeable horse.
Okay, fair enough. Right, the 2023 King George then, Simon, Clare. Like I said, you said the traders are trying to take the front two on, trying to get Shishkin in the book.
Yeah, it's interesting. He just seems to have shortened there from 9-2 to 4-1. So obviously some money must be keep coming with him. I mean, actually, just as well, we've now got betting in race. So actually, I think a few of the firms have. Coral has. So you can actually wait till Shishkin jumps off, and it'll be quite interesting actually to see how the fixed odds in race price changes. I imagine they're be similar to the exchanges. I'm sure it'll shorten quite significantly if he jumps off well and jumps the first couple well, because that's kind of factored a bit into his price. What you're gonna get from him. But he hasn't run. It's an amazing stat that I don't think since records began a horse has won the King George on its seasonal reappearance. And it's not, lots of horses come out in December, January and win first time out, and yet just shows you what a tough race this is. And you have to have had a prep. I know he technically has got an R next to his name, so I don't know if that would count as a run. The fact that he refused first time out, but Hewitt hasn't run since August. Is that against him? And he's been campaigned such an innovative way by Shark Hanlon. And he actually, I forgot how well he ran in the Gold Cup before he came down. He was bang there with Brian Binns. I mean, he was weakening, but he was still in that that 5 which turned for home. But it's hard to see him winning. And the other thing I'd say, I've loved this race since I first went there in 1988. And there's something about Kempton. It's so idiosyncratic. There are horses who love it, and there are horses who turn up and they just cannot run there. The likes of Surname, Lost in Translation, just didn't like it. I was never a course for Native River. Everyone went there and bombed.
Imperial Commander bombed out in this and then went and won the Gold Cup, didn't he? So
that's what I mean. Very good horses could go and win at Cheltenham, but couldn't cope with Kempton. And then lots of horses like One Man could win at Kempton and stay at Kempton, never got up the hill at like Calanders Over as well. So I suppose what I'm saying is, I'm totally agreeing with the guys. Brave Man's Game is a King George horse. He actually, on the RPRs, his second in the Charlie Hall, I think, was better than last year's defeat of Elder Allen. They then decided to go. Paul Nichols is a game trainer. He likes to win the prize money. He doesn't want to leave his horse in the box. They went to Haydock. I'm not sure he's really a Betfair Chase type of horse on soft ground. Royal Pagaille is. I think we all tipped up Royal Pagaille on this show for that very reason at the time on that preview show. But I don't think that will have left. That'll just have conditioned him better. I think he's going to win. I just do. And I think, Shishkin will be the one concern because he's such a good horse. Allaho, we'll see, but I'd be willing to take him on at a track he's never run at. Right hand, he jumps out to the left. So I'm feeling quite confident. I think Brave Man's Game is a good bet. The history books say dual winners, 13 dual winners or more in 50 years. Desert Orchid, Wayward Lad 3 times, Desert Orchid 4 times, Kauto Star 5 times, loads of dual winners. It's easy.
Fair enough, yeah, confident stuff. The problem is, I'm not wasn't expecting to do it, but really talking myself into a Hermes Allen Brave Man's Game double here, which I never thought I would have had in my life. But anyway, King George, Keels.
Yes, Brave Man's Game all the way for me. Well, not all the way. It'll come through late on.
yeah. The bit that counts. He's not going to be surprised if he popped out and made all.
Yeah.
Keith.
Yeah,
Brave Man's Game for me. I think he should be going off favourite.
Okay, and Simon, your Brave Man's Game. I think 4 for Brave Man's Game.
I am. Just now I will chuck in a special, which is a card special, which I wasn't sure when to introduce. We might well. The fact you're talking about Hermes Allen and Brave Man's Game. 11-2, Harry Cobden to ride 3 or more winners. He's on Outlaw Peter in the first at 6-1. Hermes Allen 7-4. Rubo 5s. Brave Man's Game 2-1. And then the next couple of races, he's got 3-1 chance, 1-3-5 not out, and 5-2 Email Andy. So it's one of those days where he does look to have a really sort of strong book of rides. So he's 11-2 to ride 3 or more.
Okay, Harry Cobden to ride 3 or more winners at Kempton on Boxing, 11-2 out from 4-1 then. Quick shout out for our chat who had opinions. Richard Schaefer said the Irish will get stuck into Allaho, goes off evens on the day. He thinks. Martin Williams says, is it a bet for Shishkin to start the race? It's probably not a bad angle. And Offworld says Shishkin isn't a good horse, which is just a factually incorrect statement. Off-world, I guess.
He's a great horse. My goodness, he's a great horse.
Yeah, fair enough. It's
He's a good horse.
But he is the direct, almost the direct opposite of Frodon, isn't he? In terms of does everything wrong and wins Grade Ones. Frodon does pretty much everything by the book and wins them. So it's nice that they both turned up to.
I would love it for Frodon and Shishkin to come to the last together, and Frodon just out battles, and that'd be magic.
Well, we were. Producer Sam says really magic. Who I think his anti-post slip would enjoy that. Okay, 3:05 at Kempton, a maiden hurdle over 2 miles. Gentleman's Relish is 9-4 favourite. Moonshine 5-2. 135 not out is 3-1. Caught in the Act 7-2. Wee Tony is 12-1. Sea Invasion 25s and bigger prices the rest. Then here for this maiden hurdle. And again, there's that part of me that always actually gets excited about the novice hurdle or the maiden hurdle on a decent card like this, because they often throw up a really nice type, and you've got a couple of horses starting life over hurdles out of decent bumper form in the shape of Moonshine and Gentleman's Relish. You've got 135 not out, who may have run into a nice one at Wincanton last time out, but Caught in the Act, who definitely ran into a nice one at Hereford last time out. And we've got Wee Tony for Ben Pauling, who can pull rabbits out of hats in these kind of races as well. So it could well be that this throws up a half-decent horse in the future, but which one's it going to be, Keels?
It could do. Well, I was looking at this and I come to the conclusion that if you swap the first two in the betting's trainers over, Moonshine would be about 4-6. I think his bumper form is way, way better. That third last time at the Brecon Castle, he was second, given £11 on Friday to Let It Rain, and probably what's the best, easily the best bumper run in Britain so far this season. That was really, really good form. And he's trained by David Killehan and Graham McPherson. They know what they're doing. He's got, like I said, he's got easily the best bumper form. I'm not sure those with hurdles form are up to that. The one you fear, of course, is Nicky Henderson, because he's run some great horses in novice hurdles at Kempton over the year, including the likes of Altior, on the same day as the Christmas hurdle. But Gentleman's Relish, the trader said afterwards, he just looked like a big baby. He's got a lot to learn, and I just wonder whether he's going to be streetwise enough this time.
Well, obviously those silks immediately make you think of Might Buy, but every run of those owners seem to have start off as big babies and then get over fences.
Absolutely. He could still be a very nice horse. He did do it very easily, having shown next to nothing on his debut. Yeah. But I think he's got a lot to learn. And
it looked like at Newbury, it was literally like the final half furlong where you went, oh right, okay, I think I've got it now.
Yeah. It could have done him the world of good, but I think he might need a run or two over hurdles before we see the best of him.
Okay. Keith, interesting lineup as well, because you've got a Gentleman's Relish is 4, 135 not out is 7 years old and is only just starting to get the hang of things. You've got, again, it does seem like one of those races that will throw up winners in the future. Shout out to Seattle King as well, for Phil McEntee and Charlie Todd. Last seen 10 days ago, getting beaten 22 lengths off a mark of 49 on the flat at Lingfield, and then going, do you fancy a day out at Kempton? And he must have thought, sure, when is it? Wednesday night? But no, he's hearing this.
It wasn't him that fancied a day out at Kempton, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough.
Get that horse. This race, Keels is alluding to the horses Henderson ran in races like this. It's the same race. They just changed it from a novice to a maiden this year. It's the same race at Altior and it's the same race at Henderson with good horses. But they've changed it now to a maiden, and for that reason, Henderson's had to change his tack, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, well, in that case, it's not the same race, is it? Because obviously Altior came here as already a hurdle winner, didn't he?
Well, that's exactly right. So he's had to send a horse like Gentleman's Relish, who hasn't got the hurdling experience. Altior could come here and win it under a penalty, and you could do that. Whereas he couldn't run an equivalent horse in this race. He's got to come here with a big baby like Gentleman's Relish, and it's a risk he's got to take by putting in such a potentially inexperienced horse in the race. So it's an interesting factor in that regard. I quite like Gentleman's Relish because he had the profile of those horses that have won the race / its equivalent down the years, and it's not a race I would have. It just looks like one I'm definitely going to watch, even though I don't watch too many maiden hurdles as the season goes on. I focus more on the chasers, but this is one you definitely watch because there's going to be nice horses. I say inclined towards Gentleman's Relish, but it's not with any huge conviction.
Okay, 94 Gentleman's Relish, but yeah, I'm inclined to side with Mr. Kealy to a certain extent, but it almost looks too obvious, doesn't it? Brecon Castle ran really well Was it yesterday? I think it might well have been yesterday.
Yeah, no, in that race at Ascot, yeah.
Yeah, Firefly ran into Gidley Park as well. Walks Like the Man, who was beaten out of sight, was a bit of an eye catcher over hurdles the other day as well. So Moonchime at 5-2, maybe too obvious, but almost a play spot banker potentially. Although admittedly he's over hurdles for the first time. What did you make of this, Simon?
I thought. I mean, firstly, it's been switched to a maiden hurdle, I think, because the novice hurdle used to attract good horses, and they've moved the Tolworth onto the same day at Aintree. So I think it was probably a BHA request to actually make this a maiden hurdle to stop, hopefully to encourage those horses to go for the Grade 1 up at the new meeting. And so it is a kind of a different type of race. I agree with Paul. Moonchime, form looks strong. Brendan Powell picks up a great spare, our Coral Ambassador. It wouldn't be something it's one of those, if I was trying to have a bet and obviously I'm going racing, I'd have a little flutter, I'd probably go for Moonchime. But certainly a race to watch.
Actually, I'm just looking back at that Novices hurdle before it was turned into this, and Rare Edition won it last year. Third time lucky, Mr. Fisher, if the cap fits, Altior, Jolly Allen. I mean, there's some old friends in there, isn't there? Okay, 305 at Kempton. No one has too much of an opinion apart from Cheese, who says Moonchime wins. And Martin Lewis says, "Am I being ignored? I'm off." You're not, Martin. You're just making up 50% of the chat, so I'm just trying to sort out the rest. But 340 at Kempton is the closing race on the Boxing Day card. Email Andy at 5-2. Will Carver is 7-2. Artistic Endeavour 5-1. Classic Lord 8-1. Mark of Gold 8-1. Chance of Tune is 10-1. And big of the rest, 10 of them lining up here for this 340 at Kempton. And heading the betting here is Email Andy, one of those Harry Cobden rides, of course, involved in that price boost. And again, another horse who's very fascinating, based on a couple of novice hurdle form lines, Keith, where he absolutely battered Goodwin, who won easily the other day, and then he ran into Ginkgo Blue and Masaccio in a fascinating race at Newbury last time out. And the front three were, pretty much a lap clear of the rest.
Yeah, you've sort of exactly. I was going to come in and say a lot of the same things there because he's that Newbury race might be one of the warmest novice hurdles we've seen in the season so far. He's only beaten 2 lengths. And it's just one of those that you often hear and read in spotlights that handicappers taking few chances with opening mark. You very rarely hear the inverse, and he probably has taken a bit of a chance letting this horse in off 1-2-7 after 2 runs over hurdles. So his RPR matches up to it straight away. It's very rare that horses come in. I say very rare. It'd be 2 or 3 out of 10 at very most that horses come in to handicaps with an RPR that matches their BHA rating. And he does, and he's clearly got that ability to go on and do better still. I thought he stood out a little bit. I looked at this race before there were prices. I'm not at all surprised to see his favourite. He's the one that he's by far the one that catches your eye in this race.
Yeah, it's interesting because the handicapper definitely has almost taken a fairly modest view of that Newbury race. Masaccio has been given 129, Email Andy 127. I don't know. I guess we'll find out who's right, Keels.
We'll have a look. I was there at Newbury. I actually didn't think the race was all that. We will have to wait and see, but I'd take a chance in opposing it. The one I was most interested in originally was Classic Lord until I saw that he had a preferred engagement at Aintree, because he's still actually got a very low mark compared to his flat ability. So I'm going to jump on the Mark of Gold. He won a race here in February by 14 lengths, absolutely bounded clear on decent ground. He'll have similar conditions. He would have won it off a £9 higher mark that day. He reappeared over a trip probably too short. Went 5th at Ascot last time. Probably been lined up for another crack at Kempton.
Yeah, I did think he was a bit big, 8-1. I mean, he's not exactly well handicapped necessarily, but he just looks a horse. These are ideal conditions, and he is the best horse in this race.
Yeah, and he's a winner as well, isn't he? He does win races.
Yeah, he does indeed.
Because he won on the flat.
He did, yeah.
As well. So, I mean, he's won 3 of his last 5 starts under all codes, I think. So, why not go with him? I thought 8-1 was fair enough.
He did the Gary Moore jumps horse thing of going to Goodwood and winning in bad ground on the flat, which seems to be a feather in the cap of Gary Moore hurdlers. Simon Clare, last race on the Kempton card.
Yeah, no, it's funny. The Artistic Endeavour, the other Timborne horse, is owned by a guy, Paul Potel, who's a good friend of mine. He used to be one of the finance director at Coral for many years, and he's got lots of horses with Timborne, a few with Nick Gifford. He then went into breeding. He owned the mare Dove Ella And so this is a homebred, and this is also a meeting that Paul and his family have been going to for years. So I know that he would love nothing more than to win this race. It's quite interesting. He's been running over 2 miles, upping in trip. He runs like a horse who's going to really appreciate that. He's bred to want further. So I think, and he ran very well last time out, second to Lingfield. He was fifth to Impose Trois, who would have gone almost certainly come second today if it hadn't made him second the last. And so I think he's got a really good chance. I'd really like Artistic Endeavour. Just a shout out for Kitty's Light. I mean, just one of the most popular horses in training. I was down at Christian Williams early in the week doing some filming, and he's just a real character horse, not a big horse. Obviously won the Scottish Grand National last year, and he's been campaigned at the Grand National this year. So obviously they're protecting that mark. They don't want it to go down by running and chasing because they want to make sure they get into the national race. So 2 mile 5. Hard to beat. I can't believe actually he's never won a hurdle race ever. He went straight to chasing after 3 novice hurdle runs. So, but I presume he's just being run there to keep ticking over. But Artistic Endeavour for me.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look at that. Yeah, I mean, line through Donica and Panjari out of that race. His handicap mark 112 looks fairly reasonable, doesn't it? So, okay, yeah, interesting. He wasn't on the short list, but I'll have to have a deeper look into him. Okay, that's the Kempton card then closed off. Of course, there's so much more to go. I tried to convince people that the 4:35 at Wolverhampton was worth a look, but let's go to Aintree instead for the 105 for the race that we formerly knew as the Tolworth, and with a bit of jiggery-pokery ahead of the National Hunt season. It's been switched to Aintree, and it's got the lineup it probably deserves, I think, because not that we haven't had good Tolworth winners, but it's usually appalling ground at Sandown and 4 or 5 runners. Well, we're going to have pretty soft ground at Aintree, but we're going to have 10 runners and plenty of them coming into this off the back of very impressive novice or maiden hurdle wins, and in the shape of Farron Glory off the back of Grade 1 success last time out. But it's Django Bay at 3-1, Farron Glory 7-2, Tell the Name 11-2, Florida Dreams 15-2, Cam Sinas 8, Favour and Fortunes 8, July Flower 9s, Jackpot Dethu is 14s, and it's bigger prices the rest, and they are making headway in Cannock Park, who both come into this off the back of career best performances as well. So whatever the reasoning was, Keith, it has worked wonders here, because I think this is a proper lineup. And Django Bay and Tell of the Name, I mean, that Tell of the Name run at Huntingdon, I think everything that's come out of that and won, probably the combined distances are about 300 lengths on the bridle, so that form looks really good. You've got the Aintree bumper form from Florida Dreams as well. Cam Sinas and Favour and Fortune have looked really good when winning. French Raider as well. I thought this was a fascinating lineup.
Yeah, it is, and you've got to see that it is a good move to bring it here, even on the ground. I think it will be soft at Aintree on Boxing Day. The Sandown Hurdles track has just become a quagmire, isn't it, in the middle of winter? So, and there is, it's not just that. It's that I think a lot of connections now, they're very cautious about deep midwinter ground, more than would have been the case in previous years. So, yeah, it is a race that's got the feel it deserved. It was a bold bit of race planning. I mean, I've got other reservations about this Aintree card generally. There's a 3 mile handicap chase that's arguably done serious damage to the Rowland Meyrick on the same day. But this race itself being at Aintree on this day is definitely a good move. In terms of fantasies, it wouldn't be my beat normally. I thought Farron Glory, who's obviously very well regarded, or started his hurling career in a Grade 2 and has won a Grade 1 last time out. I just thought he was the one that, if Vibes weren't playing an overwhelming part in the market, he would be just about favourite, if not outright favourite, and I thought he was the one to side with. But just generally, it's going to be interesting to see how this card shakes out, because it's a new card. I reckon a lot of people won't even know it's there, the Aintree card. So yeah, I'm going to watch this whole card with a bit of interest, really, because it'll be fascinating to see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be of the advocate of having flat racing at Aintree, because it's such a huge, incredible racecourse that I don't think we see it enough, quite frankly. So maybe it is a bit of a bonus to have it on Boxing Day.
Used to have it there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
Red Run won there on the flat.
Say that again.
Red Run won there on the flat.
We did, yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, but it would be a Newbury Doncaster-esque big galloping track on the flat. Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is I like Aintree as a track. It's and fair play to them for having a big day, a big card on Boxing Day.
Remember that chat when the Kempton was going to get closed down and made into houses? I thought they should have moved the King George to Aintree. I thought that'd have been brilliant.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. But What are we talking
And
about?
run it the other way round.
Run it the other way around, yeah, why not? Mix it up.
Yeah, come on.
Mix it up a little bit.
Those
Django made
3
3-1.
fences, too easy.
We've got, loads of horses in here of varying degrees of promise. Keels, you thought the French Raider might
Well,
have a chance?
I agreed with Keith in the fact I thought Farron Glory should be favourite. You've got a Grade 1 winner, and we've got a horse who scrambled home in a maiden hurdle, albeit possibly a good one, as ahead of him in the betting. I don't quite get that, and I don't think that Django Bay is anywhere near rated the best of Nicky Henderson novice hurdlers either.
But it is the contract put them in as favourite, though.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's just how it goes, isn't it? But no, this July Flower is quite interesting. I mean, we talked about the ludicrous French handicap. I mean, if the French handicap is right, she's got about 2 stone in hand because she has a rating of 74 in France, which equates to 162, and the old multiply kilos into pounds, which is obviously ludicrous, but I think she's still probably worth taking a chance on. She does get the £7 sex allowance. She's run 3 times over hurdles. She was a Grade 1 AQPS bumper winner. She actually went off 5-1 for the Aintree bumper when she moved briefly to Henry de Bromhead. It didn't work, and then she's come back to France, won her first 2 hurdles easily, finished second in a Grade 1 last time to a horse who got loads of experience, had already won 4 graded races in France, and was a Grade 1 placed juvenile, and pulled 9 lengths clear of the rest. That form might be more than up to a match for what could be an average British Grade 1, and I just thought, not far off a double figure price was worth taking a chance on. I don't think I'd ever back a French Raider at really short odds when you don't know, but I'd take a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be allowed to take 6-4 about the other one. It's in the Kauto Star, so at least you.
Sorry, Keith?
So the interesting thing about July Flower was that Losange Blue, a lot of the horses in that race had come in France to sort of campaign them through very set races. So horses that were run in that Grade 1, you can work back their 3 runs before because they've got a very set way of going through the gears almost. Yeah. Whereas she came in a completely different route to the rest, having been thought well enough to come over to Aintree and run a bumper here and won that AQPS race. It was in because literally everything else in that race would have gone through the same races. Losange Blue, she was the only exception. He was beating the same horses in that race that he normally had. And I look at that figure we're giving her now. We gave her RPR 125. That's only because of the sex allowance and because otherwise Losange Blue ends up in a massive figure. She was a really interestingly campaigned horse over there.
Okay, there you go. July Flower is a 9-1 shot then. I mean, there are plenty of interesting horses in here. I thought Favour and Fortune was a little bit interesting as well.
I did too. Funnily enough,
he's a proper flat track bully, but this should be perfect for him.
Yeah, I just thought he worked a little bit harder than I expected to him last time. Although he did make a couple of silly mistakes, so he might be better than that. His bumper form tells you he's very good, doesn't it? Yeah. And he finished lame when he finished down the field in a champion bumper that's worked out already a lot better than the previous years had by the same time. So he was the other one who interested me at the odds.
Yeah, it's he's another of those horses that when he wins, you don't quite know how good he is. So interested to see how good he is in this in the 2023 race, formerly known as the Tolworth, Simon.
Yeah, I think is it now known as the Formby? I think, isn't it? It's the Formby.
Yeah.
That's because the Tolworth is basically a roundabout on the A3, isn't it? As far as I remember. It's
a bit of a ropey town, very near to where I live.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So
it's quite a nice double though. The King George Formby double. If you have those two.
But so the Formby. I think it's a good deep race, isn't it? I just thought there's one horse which I cannot believe will be this price come the day, and that's Jackpot Dathu. Given he won the same maiden hurdle that Tamuras won last year before winning the Tolworth, albeit at Sandown. And obviously Compton's at Kempton, so Lorcan Williams takes the ride. He was an expensive buy, had a breathing up after, in between, his bumper season where he ran perfectly creditably, and he stepped up at Chepstow. And I mean, if Paul Nichols gives any kind of encouragement as to this being, him sort of thinking he's got a good chance, I just can't believe he'll be 14-1 come race time. So it looked a bit of value in a really fascinating race. We'd like to think whoever does come out on top is going to be sort of a solid horse for the season to follow.
Yeah, well, really mess with the trends, boys, though, won't it? When you get to Cheltenham, will we class this as a Tolworth or not? But the Rowland Meyrick, let's go to Wetherby. Keith was saying that maybe that Aintree card has weakened this. We normally get a nice big feel for this, just the select 6 runners for this year's contest. Empire Steel has been backed into favouritism 3-1. Into Overdrive is 7-2. Does he know 4-1? Houston, Texas 9-2. Car Philippe 13-2 with Fontaine Collonges. And again, another race at Keels where you can't rule any of them out, really. I mean, we were talking about Fontaine Collonges for that Sandown race. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I don't quite know what happened to her. I really fancied her there. I thought she's an out-and-out stayer, and she's really going to like the conditions over 3.5 mile there. And she jumped the first like it was the Puissance and shot the jockey. I mean, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? She was so high. She just literally
she did the same when she was loose as well on the way down. She did the same again when she was loose.
Yeah. So you've got to worry about that. I've got history in this race. 2 years ago, I had a good bet on Empire Steel. He breezed into the lead 4 out, promptly fell. Convinced he would have won that day. In fact, the form he showed later on, it tells you he would have done. He's a bit higher in the ratings now. I thought he didn't quite get home again at Kelso over 3 mile 2 last time. Back to a bare 3 mile. I think it's perfect for him. I'm quite happy to take the 3-1.
Okay, Empire Steel is a 3-1 shot then here. We've got Into Overdrive as well as clearly being kept for this, Keith. And does he know, again, who I think is a... Mark, a 155 asked a few questions, but I'm quite looking forward to finding out almost how good he is as well, because, again, he's another one. When he's good, he's very, very good, isn't he?
Yeah, and he very rarely runs in races that are this week, to be honest. He's an interesting horse, does he know? You know, I'm funny hearing Keels talking about Empire Steel. I backed him that same day. And for about 6 months, I was similarly convinced that he would have won as far as he wanted. I think he barely gets home, you know. And it's going to be quite testing ground at Wetherby. It has barely stopped raining where I am for about 3 weeks, and Wetherby's the nearest jumps track to me. I think it's going to be deep ground, and I just worry about Empire Steel getting home as much as I am a fan of the horse generally. I can see this horse going off quite a big price, actually, even though I thought Houston, Texas, if the ground is that deep, would be faintly interesting, because he always looks like a horse that will stay forever. And then he maybe didn't quite get home in the either, so I think maybe what he is he's just a 3 mile 2 proper mudlark. And he's clicked all of a sudden this year. You know, he won in at Hexham in the spring, and then he's won again at Carlisle. Effectively £10 higher now, so that's why he's the price he is. But there weren't many in the race I particularly fancied. You know, Empire Steel, I've mentioned about the doubts about his stamina. Into Overdrive, a horse I'm a big fan of, but conditions very different to when he won this race last year. Fontaine Collonges we've talked about. Car Philippe's a talented horse that doesn't always do what his talent promises. And then there's Does He Know, who's a horse. He's a horse that's never been a good price for me, but he might be here. So yeah, by process of elimination, I've got Houston Texas on my radar, but I could also be bent into backing Does He Know.
Okay, that's the Rowland Meyrick then at Wetherby. Simon, Clare, before we get on to the Coral Welsh National, any thoughts at Wetherby?
Yeah, just I thought, you know, you could put the sort of holes in all the horses in this race. With Into Overdrive hasn't run this season, you know. Houston Texas, he's been winning sort of weaker races, stepping up. I just thought for Car Philippe, he's clearly not easy to catch, right? But he ran 2 really good races at Wetherby November, December last year, but then he was running really highly tried at Cheltenham Trials Day. He ran 7th in the Ultimo, which looks one of the greatest handicaps run at Cheltenham, given Slowly Fast or Slow and Correct Rambler and Monbig Genius and Co. And then ran okay at Aintree, and again a really hot race. And so end of the season, sort of a bit flat, but I thought he ran a really good comeback at Newbury. He's now a few pounds, down in the weights, and I think he'll just go really well. I think he'll run well. Fergal O'Brien's in great form, so that'd be the one for me. Okay.
And that's Boxing Day then. The Coral Welsh National, of course, on the 27th. Currently good to soft, but that Paul Kealy's Norwegian contact says that it's a ludicrous sentence, isn't it? Says that there might well be quite a
try another one now. Let's have a look.
Let's measure it up. Let's measure it up. See what the. Who else? What's he got? Any Latvian weather apps?
No. Windy.com's very good.
Yeah, okay, right. What does windy.com have to say?
It's going to be windy.
It's going to be windy, yeah. So it doesn't seem to be allowing the search on here for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Well,
let's have a look at the horses instead
then.
Super Survivor is 9-2 favourite. Complete Unknown Sevens with I Will Do It. Nassalam 8-1 Autonomous Clown and 10-1 Bar. Of course, we don't know who will be declared for this year's Welsh National. Will be on the 27th. But Keith, I'm going to come to you. You like a staying handicap chase, that's for sure. There's only 2 horses people have been talking to me about about this race. I don't know why people keep mentioning Super Survivor and Autonomous Cloud. I can't remember a previous year where anyone's tipped me a Welsh National horse, never mind 2 repeatedly over the course of several weeks. So what did you make of the horses who were entered?
It's another race where I think the sort of concertina effect of the Coral Gold Cup being as late as it is, there's only 3 weeks between that and this now, and there's about 8 premier handicaps for horses at beyond 3 miles. So I think the race is maybe not looking as strong as it has been in the past, partly because of that. Super Survivor, horse I like an awful lot. I looked at this race and all of a sudden he's 5-1, and that's pretty short, even though he's a horse I do like. The one that I thought, it's hard. I've looked at it and I wondered if this was a price where he's not going to run, and he is a bit of a get, to be honest, sometimes. But if he clicks, he's a very talented horse, and he's got the beating of Autonomous Cloud, I think, over this sort of trip. It's Iron Bridge, who finished second to him in that Uttoxeter Novice Handicap chase on Midlands National Day. It's been a very good race in the past. It was won by American in the old days, and horses like Sam's Adventure and the Rasher Counter have won it too, and he went on to win big Midwinter Handicap subsequently as well. I thought he shaped like the best horse in that race, Iron Bridge, and certainly the worst horse that I thought about backing for a Welsh National off the back of it. Only run once this year. It was 2.5 miles. It had been too short for him. He didn't fancy it. He can be a bit like that. But if everything clicks for him, he's a very talented horse. Shouldn't we be saying this in front of the sponsor, but I've been looking. You look at the Betfair market to see who's likely to run, and there's money queuing up to back Iron Bridge quite a lot, actually. So I think he's going to get declared on Boxing Day. And I thought he was the bet in the race.
Okay. I think just Trucker's Lodge to place is my angle for this.
Yeah, well, I'm the big breakaway to place as well. I just think you just throw out that Aintree run. He hated those fences. We know they're not as big as they used to be, but horses can still get unsettled by them, and he just backed off them, and he just didn't want to know. And and he comes back to the track where he's run really well last year, ran into a very well handicapped horse in the Two Amigos, yeah, I think a double-figure price. He would have been a double-figure price without that run, so I'd take that. And the other one is an old favourite of mine, Nassalam. Now I keep looking at Nassalam, and it's funny, right? If he was a 7-year-old who'd run 4 times over fences and won the trial as easily as he did, he'd be 5-2. A bit like the horse that won it a few years ago, whose name I can't remember.
The Evan Williams horse.
He's actually a year younger, but he's run millions of times because he was a juvenile hurdler. But he absolutely bolted up Nassalam last time.
Secret Reprieve.
That's it. He jumped like a stag, which is something he's never done in his entire life before. I couldn't believe it. Funnily enough, I nearly laid him last time. I couldn't understand where the money was coming from.
I said this the other day, at Wincanton the other day, Galen Queen rode a horse called 2020 out from the front, pinged every fence, never jumped like that in his life.
Yeah.
So is it maybe it's him?
Yeah, no, maybe it is, but crikey, he absolutely flew, and he hacked up, and he wasn't stopping, and it was heavy ground. Okay, he's got another 3/4 of a mile to go, but got to have a shot, hasn't he?
Yeah. And like I said, I think Trucker's Lodge just absolutely loves this race, but he was beaten quite a long way last year, Simon, but he wasn't in the same sort of form, and he's in absolutely blinding form this year. Of course, obviously, Foss last back in April, but we don't know what would happen at Cheltenham. But he ground it out nicely at Sandown. I know he's 11 years old, but you don't have to be young to win the Coral Welsh National.
No, you don't. And I think the other thing is, if you look back through the record books, there's loads of horses. If you run well repeatedly there, Yalarenki was certainly one of them. Trucker's Lodge is another. And so I can see him running well again. I think he finished. Did he finish in the first 4 last year? Because Freddie Gingell rode him last year. Obviously, the race is run in memory of Freddie's mum and Joe Tizard's sister, Kim Gingell, and I think he's going to ride him again. I think he'll go well again. And it's just as Paul said, the big breakaway. I think rain would help because it was a horrendous day 12 months ago when it poured with rain. The ground was very heavy, and he just got into a rhythm, and nothing came from behind. It tends to be that sort of track. You probably want to be in the first 4 or 5 and just keep relentlessly grinding out in front. So I think the big breakaway definitely going to run. I spoke to Joe Tizard a couple of hours ago. He runs. Iron Bridge definitely intended to run. I spoke to John Joe I will do it. Spoke to Sam Thomas earlier. He said the horse worked well. He's going. So, I take on Keith's point that obviously they're competitive races, but it still looks a lovely, mixture of staying chasers, old and young. I'd say Naslam come for the trial. So I think it looks a really good, it'll be a good betting race come the day. And yeah, I'll be cheering, rooting for the big break when the Tizard team. But it looks a cracker of a race.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if Super Survivor, Autonomous Cloud, Nassalam, Complete Unknown, Iron Bridge, the big breakaway. I mean, they're your young bunch of horses. If they turn up, and then I Will Do It and Chambard and Trucker's Lodge and the older bunch as well. Yeah, you're gonna get a battle of the generations, that's for sure. But yeah, Trucker's Lodge. I think it's his 5th year in a row he's running this.
Yes.
2nd in 2019, 7th in 2021, 3rd in 2000. Hang on, no, I've confused myself here. What? Oh yes, sorry. There was 2 2021s, wasn't there?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Well, last year's winner had been 2nd and 5th in previous runnings.
Yeah.
So it does happen, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. Okay.
Yeah. And Windy.com says slightly more than 50 mil will be falling on Wednesday, so it's going to be just as bad by the looks of it.
More.
All right. Okay. And how windy?
I didn't check that.
You didn't check that.
Doesn't tell you that.
Doesn't tell you that. Yeah. So why have we called it windy? .com, rainy.com was taken. Okay, right. Before we get the naps over the Christmas period, let's get a quick any other business. Keels, what else is on the...
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one at Chepstow as well. The handicap hurdle, Bells of Peterborough won it there by 22 lengths 2 years ago. Ran into Flight Deck last year, who was, I think, beaten only 2 lengths in the long distance hurdle last month. He's £6 lower. He's back at the track he loves. And he was quoted, there's only a few firms priced it up, he was quoted like 20 to 1 outside of the field. I thought that was a bit daft. It's an interesting horse in that race, and Eldorado Allen, I don't know if he's running, Simon, but the last time he ran over hurdles, he was rated 150. He certainly hasn't gone backwards over fences, and he's off 143, which is quite interesting. I don't normally do that, the handicapper, do they? So.
No. And you've got the imposters in there as well.
Yeah, but
so
Bells of Peterborough just interested me because it's going to be his ground as well. It'll be bottomless. And he's no doubt been keyed up for another crack at it.
Okay, fair enough. Keith, any other business over Christmas?
Yeah, a couple on Boxing Day. Looking at the Lincolnshire National on Boxing Day, 257 at market raising, and they've priced it up early, and you're getting 4. Some firms are giving 4 to 1 animal. I can see that horse going off 9 to 4 favourite. Just very progressive. Keels put him up at Sandown when he won last time, I think, and he just looks like a horse that's going to keep going, keep running in these second tier marathons, and he's a horse that they might put him in at about 4 to 1, and he'll go off about 9 to 4 because it's a race that he should probably be winning. And then I don't know if we're jumping the gun with naps, but my sort of strongest fancy the whole festive period running Aintree on Boxing Day. There's a veterans middle distance handicap chase which contains Iblio, who's coming in off a 991 day absence, Mac Totti, who's coming in off a 430 day absence, Top Wheel Ben, who's far more missed than hit these days, on a horse that won the Old Drone first time out last year of a £6 higher mark, and Riders on the Storm. Probably fresh time to catch this horse these days. I expect he's the only horse in this race whose connections have had this race circled in their diary for quite a while. He's coming in fresh because I think that's the way you catch him. And even last time he ran at Perth in April, he was behind Whistle in the Dark. That horse was very progressive at the time. It wasn't a horrific run, so he's still got a bit of spark about him. Freshened him up, coming back, he runs in a race with a load of unfit old horses, and Riders in the Storm, I think, is... I usually try and get clever with these Boxing Day ones. I look for all these hidden gambles, but here's the horse that will just win, I think.
Okay, there you go then. I think my strongest fancy is probably at Aintree as well. Buxy de Epierre in that 140 at Aintree, 2.5 mile handicap hurdle, finished second to Spirit Danu at Sandown. Last time out in what I thought was a very, very good race, and just kept plugging, and I think he will relish the step back up in trip. Simon Clare, any other business for you?
Yeah, this is sort of part shout out really. We've got Coral Racing Club for colleagues. We have a Coral Racing Club we run for our staff members, and Robbie Llewellyn, the trainer, Welshman, but he trains near Marlborough, near Barbary Castle. He trains Lands Park in the last at Fontwell on Boxing Day, who I think's got a really good chance. He's back off now, a winning mark of 104. We first time out we went over fences. He just didn't enjoy the fences at all. It was his first time over the bigger obstacles. So last time out he was back over hurdles at Chepstow. The winning distance was very exaggerated, as it often is at Chepstow when you start getting run away from. But I think Robbie thinks he's really well, and Robbie's just trained a double at Ascot Friday, Saturday with Titan Discovery yesterday, Top Cloud today. And he only had the 2 runners. For a small yard with 30 odd horses and he only took his license out last year. I think that he said 12 months ago he'd had 1 winner and a third, and now he's having a double at Ascot on the Christmas weekend. So he's a good young trainer, and he's training for the Race Couple of Collies, and we think Lance Park will go very well in that last race at Formby.
Lovely stuff. Right, Naps will be coming up after this. Christmas crack has in store then. He's gone. Will he make it to Christmas?
I made an effort to make me cough, didn't it, mate?
What happened to the man who stole an advent calendar, Keels?
No idea, mate.
He got 25 days, and there's a little colourful bookmark for you.
Oh, lovely! Thank you very much. Yeah.
Put it in the.
I'll put that in my Kindle.
Okay, lovely stuff.
Right. Very good.
Let's find out our Christmas crackers then on the Boxing Day cards or beyond. Best bet of the festive period, Paul Kealy.
Of the festive period, blow your wad. I like that in the first at Kempton. Get the punters off to a flyer.
Yeah.
Or blow your wad.
Or blow your wad. Yeah. Keith Melrose.
I'm going to get in 15 minutes before him. I never thought I'd see the day that Riders on the Storm would be my nap for anything. He's been a right funny old sod down the years, but I just cannot imagine more being in his favour than there is in his 12:30 entry. So it's Riders on the Storm for me.
Riders on the Storm. Just checking. Yes, it is 2023. Simon Clare.
Yeah, I think Artistic Endeavour in the last at Kempton would be my nat. Although I do think, having listened to the guys and put it out there, I think that 11-8 Constitution Hill by over 7 lengths probably worth sticking in as well.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'll go for Buxy Day Epier at Aintree, or King's Code in the 4:35 at Wolverhampton. But this is a jumps preview, right? Apparently over the winter. But David Evans and Finley Marsh. That's my Christmas crackers sorted. But thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for watching all year as well. Then the 2023. It has been. It's been quite the year over the sticks and on the flat. And we were going to do a highlights package, but. It would have been too long, frankly. That's what I'm saying. Great lads, a great show as always, lads. Lizzie and Molly, hello to you. A shout out to Robbie Wilders in his absence for tipping up Crambo at 7-1 anti-post, and a shout out to Tom Siegel as well. He could be with us tonight. If you see him wandering around the Reading area for Christmas, wherever he is, I don't know, I've never met him. Give him a shout out and a hug as well. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank
Paul
you.
Kealy.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Yeah, hopefully I'll be better. I was trying to hurry up and finish with you. I'm going to need to cough, but sorry, it had to happen.
Apologies. Merry Christmas to you, Simon Clare.
Yeah, have a happy New Year. Merry Christmas and a happy New Year, Ross.
And to you too, Mr. Keith Melrose.
Merry Christmas, Ross. Merry Christmas, the King of Christmas.
Yes, there you go. And may you all have a nice time. Bye.